Good afternoon, Valley of the Sun. I'm getting to this podcast a little bit late. This is your host, Nathan Claiborne of the Phoenix Real Estate Roundup. Thank you for joining me for this week's Roundup. Today is Tuesday, November 1st. That is Dia de los Muertos. So we honor the ancestors that came before us, and we honor the fact that we will be ancestors to those that come after us, right? Feliz Dia de los Muertos. Thank you, and thank you for joining me here because I got a lot to get to. So the active listings today on the Arizona Regional Multiple Listing Service, 20,515. Now, that number is not going up as fast as you would think. So the velocity of people listing their homes for sale is not very fast, and the velocity of them selling is also not very fast. Everything has slowed down, which is by design. That's why these interest rate hikes are happening. We got to slow this train down. This train is a runaway train. We got to slow it down. So far so good. It's working, but we're still getting in the wider economy indications that these interest rate hikes are going to have to keep going. So we got to hang on to your hat, folks, as I pay attention to this. Of course, as interest rates go up, home prices go down. Pardon me. And interest rates, when they're low, the home prices go up like they just did for the last 2 years. So we're seeing this correct itself. We're going to see a lot of people who were able to purchase homes, with low interest rates as investment properties for the last couple of years are probably not super thrilled with that investment. So, and I think we'll see some of those start leaking back onto the market, which frankly gives first-time home buyers and other owner-occupied type buyers a way better shot at finding properties. The inventory is manageable right now. 20,000 active listings is even below what a normal market would be here. But that's still a lot more than the 4,000 we had in March. So it's not that bad to be a buyer right now, particularly if you have a fair amount of cash on hand. That's really, really advantageous. If you have cash right now, you should be licking your chops because all the rest of people have to pay 7.13%. That's the average 30-year fixed rate interest today. 7.13% on their loan, and you have to pay a darn thing on your cash to buy a house. So, as always, cash is king. The most expensive house, I'm going to start doing this segment once every week. The most expensive house that has sold this week in the Valley comes to us from way up in Desert Mountain. If you don't know where that is, that's in northeast Scottsdale, up against the McDowell Mountains. It's got a couple of golf courses there, beautiful restaurant, huge wine room. Really cool place. This is where the wealthiest of people live, besides Paradise Valley. But Desert Mountain is very shishi. The most expensive house this week, $9.5 million up on Santa Rosa Pass in Desert Mountain. This is a 4-bedroom, 5.5 bathroom, modern architecture, lots of glass here. 8,855 square feet. It was just built. They just got finished with that last year and sold it for $9.5 million. Both sides handled by the Russ Lyons Sotheby's International Realty. Congratulations to those folks, and that is our most expensive house of the week here in the Valley, $9.5 million. Whew, that's not bad. Okay, the next thing I want to go over, I've talked about this a little bit. Lenders start getting real creative when interest rates go up like this. But there's a couple other options, and one of them I'm going to talk about today in terms of financing the house not quite the normal way. And one of them is with an assumable mortgage. So as you can recall, for the last couple of years, interest rates have been pretty darn low. So if you purchased a home in the last couple of years and you purchased it with a 2.5% or 3% mortgage, and you need to move, and you don't owe a ton on your mortgage, but even if you do, it is possible to advertise and say that you are willing to do an assumable mortgage. And what happens is that buyer comes along and says, yeah, you know what, this sounds like a pretty good idea. And he applies for that mortgage. He applies to the original mortgage company who extended that mortgage. And, if he gets accepted, he can take over that mortgage as part of the partial payment to that house. And then whatever is the difference between the agreed upon purchase price and that mortgage, let's say it's $50,000, the buyer would come to the table with $50,000 to pay the difference and would assume that mortgage and those mortgage payments. And that's how an assumable mortgage works. And I'm starting to see more and more of them. This is why I bring it up. Now, it's important to understand, it is really important to understand that if you're going to do an assumable mortgage and you don't have the cash to pay the difference, it is very difficult to impossible to get a loan for that difference. So let's say the mortgage that you're assuming, there's an additional $100,000 between what's owed on that mortgage and the purchase price. So you got to come up with $100,000 in cash. You're not going to be able to get a mortgage for that. And the reason why is because somebody's already in first place. That original mortgage is in the first lien position, we call it. So if you foreclose, that mortgage gets paid. Whereas the second mortgage, the one you got for the $100,000, the remainder, they're not going to get paid necessarily. They're not in first place, and almost all home lenders are unwilling to do that. So that you end up with a really bad loan somewhere. So you might defeat the purpose, but if you have cash and you see an assumable mortgage, it could be a really, really great opportunity for you. Of course, there's lots of other ways to buy a house, and you can still get your mortgage for 7.13%, which is the 30-year average fixed rate mortgage right now. But not everybody can qualify for that. So one of those circumstances, you can do an assumable mortgage. Stay tuned. I will come at you next week, and we'll talk about more interesting and fun things, and I'll tell you the most expensive house that sold this coming week. Tune in next week to the Phoenix Real Estate Roundup.